Darkest of Bleatings, my lovely tribe. So basically today I'm doing a dedicated book review and I've got a massive bone to pick with Rachel Harrison, who wrote this novel, Black Sheep. So here's where I want to start. Rachel Harrison, how dare you? Who do you think you are? Every year at the end of the year, December time, I like to present an award for the best book of the year. And it's not necessarily a book that was published in that year, but just a book that I read for the first time in that year. It's always very difficult to pick because I read a lot and I always read like some great books, and there are always like a few contenders for that #1 spot. And we're only in April, but I have two books specifically that are currently battling it out for that top spot. I don't think that they can be, either of these books, I don't think they can be toppled. So in my head, 9 months in advance, I've already been stressing about which author is going to get the best book award out of these two. Now that's not to say that they can't be toppled off their thrones, but it's a very, very tall order for how much I loved both of those books, which will remain a mystery until the end of the year. And then Rachel Harrison, via Abominable Book Club, this is your fault too, you guys, just waltzes in with Black Sheep and makes the decision really, really hard, because this is at least, at the very least, on par with both of those frontrunners for me, possibly edged into first place, but I'd need more time to reflect. So basically, Rachel, you know, fuck you, because you've made my decision. The decision is already so hard. How dare you just turn up, reading my mind and putting everything I could possibly want in a horror novel that I haven't got to enjoy in a horror novel before, I might add. So I'm going to start with a quick non-spoiler review. I'm not going to spoil anything about this book, because with each unfolding of details and revelation in this, I was like basically clapping my little hooves together with glee, and I don't want to take that away from someone that might potentially read this, but I don't even do star ratings. I hate star ratings, and I only do it on Amazon and GOODREADS because you have to, but this would be like a 10 out of 5 star read for me. This is ticks all of the boxes for the kind of horror that I really enjoy, and it's not just the concept and the characters that she nailed, but like the execution of the story as well. It was so masterfully done. I immediately went to Amazon and looked for everything else that Rachel Harrison's ever written, and everything is in my my Christmas basket now. I usually tend to dip into that and buy things through the year. Oh, also, yeah, I might have ordered another Rachel Harrison book already, actually. And that's another thing that I need to have a word with you about, Rachel, because now I've broken my book buying ban one day after I put myself on a book buying ban, and it is all your fault for just strolling in here with this. So this is about a lady called Vesper. She's 23, and she kind of like excommunicated herself from her family and friends and her hometown, because she's from like a really small, very religious community, and she kind of, you know, never really felt like she fit in, and kind of always had doubts about the religion. Just didn't feel as strongly as everybody else, and eventually she decides it's just not for her. But the thing about this community, like you see with a lot of like these really like close-knit religious communities that are very, very faith-based, like if you leave, you're gone. Like you can't just waltz in and out of this place. Like if you decide to leave the church, you have left the church. So she, you know, she's done that, and then she has cause to return, which she never planned to do. So I was like immediately very invested, because this is basically like kind of like an underdog / outsider kind of story. I can't relate to the religious aspect of this. I'm not from a religion myself. I immediately felt for Vesper, because I thought something must have been like really wrong and really eating at her for her to leave and give up all of her friends and family and her childhood home and memories. Just made me really feel for her. And then I was very excited and worried about what was going to happen when she returned, and how that was all going to go down and play out. And I was really excited to like get to know the community a little bit more and everything. I really enjoy religious horror. I'm such a big fan. I was just so intrigued by it all, very interested, and I really enjoy, I don't like true, what's it called, not true crime, like stuff like the Jonestown situation. I tend to avoid watching things that depict that, like that real world thing, because it's so horrific, but I am at the same time really morbidly fascinated by that level of devotion and stuff. So I was really excited to find out what was going to happen. It's written in the first person and it's written really well. Like, you really get to know Vesper very fast, and all of her thoughts and everything, and you kind of like, I was umming and ahhing about whether or not I liked her initially, but I was definitely invested. So it didn't really matter if I couldn't decide if I liked her. I was interested and I did like relate to her quite a lot. So yeah, it was just, it's a really good story of sort of like religion clashing with your personal lack of belief, I guess. And it's a really good story of like family dynamics and priorities and love in a weird way, and the horror is excellent. It went in some very surprising directions, and I really enjoyed it. And that's the end of the non-spoiler bit, because I really want to talk about the things I really loved. But honestly, if you want to read this, maybe click away now if you don't want anything spoiled for you, because the revelations are what got me so excited and why I'm so antsy to get to it. But it's a really great read, and I can't recommend it enough. Definitely one of my favourite reads of the year so far, and I can't imagine what I'm going to like more than it. It's one of those books where I finished reading it and I usually immediately go to my bookshelves and pick up something else from my personal stash, and I was just looking at everything sadly because this was so good. I kind of like didn't want to read anything else. It kind of ruined reading for me for a few days. So yeah, it's a great book. And now I'm going to give you a brief moment to click away before we go into the non-spoiler section, in case you don't want to be in the non-spoiler section. And yeah, I thought I'd give you more than 5 seconds, because sometimes I watch videos when I'm washing the dishes and my hands are in rubber gloves in water, and then someone says, now onto the spoilers, and I haven't got enough time to fling myself at my phone and it ends up in the sink. This is my waffle over. I'm coming to the end of the waffle now, so you have been warned. We're going into the spoiler section. Did I say I said non-spoiler section before. We're going into the spoiler section now, and I can't enthuse enough, guys. I'm really excited, and these aren't clues or anything about what I loved so much. And I'm not saying that I'm obsessed or anything, but guys, they're Satanists, the religious community, they're Satanists, is a church that goes to the devil, and as you might be able to tell here, I am very obsessed with this as a concept, with Lucifer as a character. I'm absolutely enamoured by Baphomet for some reason. I am not religious at all myself, so I don't have any spiritual connection to any of this. I also want to just acknowledge very quickly as well that particularly in modern day cinema, Satanism is not depicted very accurately according to what the modern day Church of Satan practices. I'm not an expert on the Church of Satan, but I do know that they're not, running around sacrificing babies and things like that. They're just like a group of people in a community like everybody else, as far as I know. But I absolutely love Satan as a fictitious character. I have been so excited in recent years by, there seems to have been a little bit more of that in kind of like the arty, boring films that a lot of people don't like. I'm a big fan of things like The Witch, which a lot of people complain is like slow and boring, but that's kind of my jam. And in a lot of those kinds of films, Satan is just neatly woven in, and I really enjoy it. So imagine the thrill I got when Vesper goes back home. She walks into her old family home. Her mother is, as always, very cold to her. Everyone is surprised to see her. Some are happy to see her, some don't seem so happy. They're all sitting around the table and she's just sat there thinking about the fact that they're all going to have to do a prayer before they eat, yada yada yada. And then yeah, they're just doing this nice prayer, oh thank you Lord for what we're about to receive, blah blah blah, and then at the end they rounded it off with a nice Hail Satan, and I was like, what? Went back, reread it, and I was beside myself, because I hardly ever get to read a book like this. Like I read a lot of fiction where like the devil is just thrust into the plot, but I've never been so shocked, like, because I just assumed that by religious community it was a Christian community, because 9 times out of 10 that is what it is, or 10 times out of 10 in my experience when I'm reading or watching a film. So I was absolutely thrilled, and the thing that made it better is that we get a lot of detail about her family and friends when she gets home before that revelation. So I had this lovely glorious image of the hometown as being like a really tight-knit loving community. Everyone is very sunny and rosy, and they've got, you know, jolly positive personalities. You know, they're pretty, and they're wearing white dresses, and everything is lovely, except for Vesper's mother, who is a famous actress of horror films, so she's got a lot of like horror memorabilia around the house and sort of like gothic tastes. So I just didn't see it coming, and it was so good. I thought that the character dynamics were done really, really well. Vesper's mother is very cold towards her, but as we delve more into Vesper's backstory, we know that that's not because she left the church. It's been running for like her entire life. And that was a really interesting dynamic to explore and like find out what was going on there. And what I really loved that Rachel Harrison did with that relationship is that you work it out as you're going along through like indicators and things that are told to you, and then things that aren't really said to you, but you figure it out. And I really like that she didn't feel the need to like explicitly tell us every detail of why Vesper's mother is so cold towards her. It's just like all the clues are in there, and you know, by the end you realise. I just thought it was really masterfully done. She wrote with like a lot of confidence in the reader to like get the nuances and things here. There's nothing I hate more than when you're reading a good book and the author either doesn't trust themselves or they don't trust the audience to pick up on what they're putting down. I do not like being explicitly told every detail, every thought that someone has. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed that. I'm not gonna like spoil the ending or like even really where the main plot goes after this, but Vesper has returned home because her first and only love is marrying her cousin, who is also her best friend. And so when she receives the wedding invitation, she's very shocked that they're even together, and she kind of goes back spitefully because like she just feels compelled to go and like see what the hell's going on there. And the relationships are complicated, and you kind of like, I don't know, the characters are just done so well. I can kind of see where everyone is coming from, and I really liked that though there were some like typical Satan-y elements, it's not a stereotypical satanic church or something that you would normally see in horror. It's not, you know, there are some familiar elements that you might have seen elsewhere before, but nothing that would make you roll your eyes and be like, oh, this is like, you know, a 15-year-old Marilyn Manson fan's idea of Satanism. Like, does that make sense? Yeah, that makes sense. So basically this book ticked like every box for me for my horror tastes. I really enjoy post-apocalyptic fiction and I enjoy folk horror, but the top of my list is stuff that infuses the devil, but stuff that infuses it really well. So I am just absolutely delighted. This never veered off course for me. I'm always afraid when I'm really enjoying something that like towards the end it's gonna just kind of go off the rails, but it didn't. It didn't. It was just like perfect pacing, perfect like building and the setup, perfect characters, family dynamics. I loved Vesper. She's one of my favourite protagonists of all time. I just really related to her, and there were some things you'd think you can't possibly relate to that, but I did anyway. So in short, Rachel Harrison has just come strolling in here with a fucking brilliant book, made my decision at the end of the year way harder because this book's gonna battle it out with some like real heavyweight authors for me. I absolutely cannot wait to read the rest of Rachel Harrison's back catalogue. Yes, like I said, I've already ordered some stuff, and yeah, this was just a really thrilling time that made me want to cuddle my Baphomet plushie and hail Satan in a fictitious way. And yeah, that's the end of this book review. I think I've bleated on enough, but yeah, I really can't recommend it highly enough. If other people have read this, I would love, love, love to talk to some people in the comments, because nobody I know in my real life has read this. And I'm really, really dying to talk about it like in even more detail. So yeah, if you read this, or if you have any questions, like, please pop them in the comments. If you have read this and you know of similar works outside of Rosemary's Baby that deal with these kinds of themes, I would really love to know what they are, because I'm always on the hunt for stuff like this and I can never find this. So yes, thank you, Rachel Harrison, for your excellent work of Satan-y deliciousness. Lived very deliciously while I was reading this. And thank you, Abominable Book Club, for putting this in your subscription box. I will forever be indebted to you for introducing me to this amazing writer. And that's it for this video, so please